Hey guys, my name is Heather Lindsay.
And my name is Cornelius Lindsay.
And I'm so excited that you landed on Life with the Lindseys.
This is so exciting. This gives us an opportunity to share our life with yours.
Yes, we're going to be talking about everything from entrepreneurship to ministry to your purpose to why you are here. Family, parenting, relationships, marriage, sex, you name it. We are talking about it.
So thank you so much for joining us today with Life with the Lindseys. Enjoy it.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Life with the Lindseys. My name is Heather.
What up, though? It's Cornelius. I'm not from Detroit, but I like saying that.
Really?
I love what up, though. I don't know. I like that. Every time I go to Detroit, I'd be like, what up, though? I would go around and be like, oh, you from Detroit? Like, no, I'm not from Detroit.
Maybe you're definitely not from Detroit.
Anybody
from Detroit knows that.
Hold up, slow. I mean, Detroit is an amazing city. I love the energy. I love the people. I love going up there. I mean, you're from Michigan.
Yeah, I am from Michigan. But can I tell you, I had a whole moment. I just looked into your eyes and was like, we get to do this together. Isn't that amazing?
It's pretty dope.
Do you ever just get mushy like that?
I'm not a mushy person. I'm not really mushy mush, but you know what? I mean, ain't nobody else I want to do this with because I've had people, to ask me, can we do a podcast? And I'm like, no, bruh. But like with you, I mean, I love doing this with you.
I love
you.
You're dope. Too.
You're dope.
You, baby. Okay.
What's up, y'all, man? This week we are talking about family. I mean, it's the holidays. Y'all probably been chilling with your family and, talking to them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So this podcast is going to be all about dealing with difficult family members.
Woo!
This holiday season.
Woo!
Come on.
So we gotta kind of give people like the story and the background. I mean, so we've known each other for like 12 years.
Yeah.
And the married folks will know, like, you get married, you got to make that decision of whether or not you are going to spend Thanksgiving or Christmas or what holiday you're going to spend with which family.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that we chose Thanksgiving for Heather's family, which is in Michigan, and my family, which is in Atlanta. So
it's ironic, though. Before I even met you, I remember going home and it was Thanksgiving. And I remember actually it was Christmas and I was by myself. I was single. And I'm not going to say which sister, but she looked at me and said, okay, I was 26, y'all.
I know which sister it was.
How'd you know?
I know it.
Damn it. She said, hold on, y'all. So she said, you're 26, your clock is ticking and you need to hurry up and pop out some babies. And I quote. And I'm like, I looked at her. And I'm like, first of all, because listen, all of my sisters that were pretty much raised with me had children at like 18 and 19 years old. Here I am, 26, and I'm single. And so they're looking at me like I'm like something's wrong with me. Right. And they're like, where is your man? And I said, do you want me to settle like you did?
Oh,
but the thing is, my sister, I can talk to her that way. We have that type of relationship. She just laughed because she's like, you right, girl, I did settle. But I'm like, I told them, I was like, at the right time, God is going to bring my spouse into my life. And then I'm going to pop out some babies. I'm not about to be out here just popping out anybody's babies. And I remember after that happened, I went back to my room and I remember just opening up my Bible and spending time with the Lord. And I remember telling God, if I have to be single for the next 10 years, I'm totally content with that, God, because you are all I need. I'm not about to bring children into this world based on the pressure from my family members. I refuse to do that. I want to do it your way. I want to trust you, God, in this season. And so I just give it to you. You're all I need. And it's so crazy, babe, because 9 days later, we went on our first date.
It was 9 days later for real?
It was for real 9 days later. So that happened on Christmas. And then we went on our first date January 4th, 2009.
Aww.
Isn't that crazy?
Aww.
9 days later, y'all. So
Aww.
I remember just being like, wow, God, you're fast.
then I met your family and I realized, how dope they are. I say your family now, but of course,
our family.
They're definitely my family. We like to call, we don't like to say in-laws. We like to say in-loves.
Yeah.
Because the premise behind in-law is that by law, you now have become my family, but
yeah.
We like to think that our love is bigger than law.
Yeah.
That our love that we have for our families is love. It's not necessarily lawful, but it's loving. So like my in-laws are pretty dope. But in the beginning, it was a stretch for me. It was a big stretch for me. I mean, you come from a really large family.
Yeah. There's 24 of us. Everybody's
24.
adopted except one. And I'm adopted too.
Yeah. So like she comes from a really, really big family. And I'm, it was just me and my sister, my mom, my dad. And so going there and like meeting them and seeing just how, what's the word, outspoken you all are
the women.
Woo, Jesus.
The
Yeah, it was a lot of estrogen, a lot of strong estrogen. It was a lot of,
and that's why that's a lot of where I get my strength from.
Yeah. And I don't, and one thing I noticed when I looked around, I was like, where are the men? I was like, hold up, where am I the only guy who am I the only one who is here right now? Like where, and then you were like, yeah, one of them stayed at home and the other one didn't want to come. And I was like, well, what happened? Like it's a lot of y'all ladies around, but I think that, in marriage, you learn to just roll with the punches. I'm going to get to know your family and we learn to make something work. But ultimately when dealing with difficult family members, you have them throughout your family. With dealing with those difficult family members, there are some things that you need to know and things you need to be prepared for. Like, we all have those crazy aunts. We all have those crazy siblings. We all have, those deep people who always have something to say about your life and about your timetable and about what God's doing in your life and all these kind of things. And you have to know that no matter what somebody says, that you cannot allow for them to move you away from what God has told you to do. You can't allow for them to make you also think that you are less than.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people can do that with their words. They can kind of like talk down to you, like, where is your man? Or, and a lot of women may not know this, but guys get it too.
Yeah.
It's like, so are you going to get married? Like you going to marry that girl anytime soon? And I feel like men already, we already have a lot of pressure of, you need to be able to have a house. You need to be able to have a car. You need to be able to have this. And a lot of men have the feeling that, we're getting in nothing more than just some type of parasitic relationship.
What's interesting about that is this just shows me that so many people are dealing with their own battles and their own struggles, and they're walking through their own things. So we can play a part in making sure that we are not adding to people's tests and trials. Y'all, let's just keep it real. Are you that auntie that keeps asking where your man at? Are you that sister that keeps saying when are you having some kids? Are you that mother that's just like, I need some grandbabies? We can't keep putting pressure on everybody around us. You don't know what they're walking through or what they're going through. I remember when we had our miscarriage, and I remember going home for that Thanksgiving, and it's crazy because my due date was around that time. And I had, some friends and different people saying things like, when are y'all going to have some children? And just putting all this pressure on me. And I'm just like, you don't know that I just went through the most traumatic miscarriage. So you can't put that pressure on people around you. So we have a part to play, y'all. Come on, let's play our part with those people that we're in relationship with. And you have that one single friend and she's in her 30s. Stop saying how many dates you've been on, baby. What's been going on? Like, give her some space. If she brings up the conversation, then great, talk about it. But if she doesn't bring it up, just kind of let her lead. Our identity is not wrapped up in who we're married to, who we're dating, who we're with, how many kids we have, what we're doing as far as our career. Our identity must be wrapped up in who God calls us to be.
That's so good, because when you bring up that one word identity, people don't realize how important it is. Yeah. When people will try to destroy you and try to destroy who you are, like identity is so important, because it is not the words that somebody calls you that matters. It's the words that you believe when they called you them. Like it's not something like somebody comes up to you and they say you're stupid, then whatever. Like that doesn't hurt me. Yeah. But it doesn't hurt me until I begin to accept it as though it is a part of my identity. Yeah. And then I begin to act like what you called me. And so you have to be very cautious when you're dealing with difficult people to know that my objective here is not to, take in the words that you say. Yeah, you have questions. And let's be honest, a lot of people are not really asking questions. A lot of people are questioning. They're questioning what God said to you. They're questioning how he said it to you. Hey, after I dropped out of college, I get around family members, and I even got around friends. And thankfully, like my mom and my dad were cool. They didn't really question too much of what God said. They trusted my ability to hear. My sisters are always been cool. It was mostly like friends and, old mentors and stuff that I had who were like, well, what did God, did God really say that? And how do you know he said it? I even had somebody told me, it was an old mentor. This person said, you should leave that God stuff alone. And you need to really focus. It's like, Cornelius, you have so much potential. You can do so much more. You can become an attorney and you can run for office. You can do this, and you leave that God stuff alone, because that God stuff is going to have you broke. That God stuff is going to have you looking crazy. And I wish they can, no, praise the Lord. I don't want to say that. But anyway, it's like, they might be listening to this podcast. So I'm not broke. I'm not crazy. But anyway, you got to know that your identity is important. And you can't allow for difficult people to pull you into their place of difficulty. They live in that place. People only give you what they are. I can't give you something out of me that I don't have. And if people are difficult, that means that oftentimes the state of mind they live in is difficult.
That is so true. So it's like they're going through their own struggles in their life, and then they're looking at you and they're projecting onto you based on what they feel and what they are going through. Now, this is why it's so important that you develop and your identity, y'all. If you don't know who you are, this world is going to try to tell you who you are. So in developing your identity and who you are and who God has called you to be, it's so important that you're opening up your word and you're reading it on a regular basis. Have you spent time with the Lord lately, y'all? Like, where are we at with that? To be honest, I feel like we go to social media to find out who we are. We go to our job to get our title to find out who we are. We look at people in church to find out who we are and what our identity is. But it's so important that you're opening up the word of God and you're saying, God, all right, who did you say I am? You say that I'm called. You say that I'm adopted, that I'm chosen. You say that I'm a royal priesthood. And what happens is you begin to get so confident in your own identity and who God has called you to be, that when people come to challenge it and challenge your decisions, then you can stand firm, because you know what? I know who I am, and nobody can take that away from me. I know that I'm called for such a time as this.
And if you know you're called for it, then child, don't let anybody else take you away from it. People crazy. Can I just be? Let's just keep it honest. People are crazy, and you have to know that who you are is who you are, and what God has called you to do. People are difficult, and some things, there are some things that you can know to do when you're not, when you're getting around your family. Like, some things you can avoid. Like, if you know that there's about to be a difficult conversation, you don't avoid all of them, but there's some things you can stop before those conversations become unbearable. Like, don't necessarily bring up politics. Those are one of those things when you sit around the table, like, don't bring it up. We're in a presidential election right now, and everybody's running. And I mean, it seems like everybody running. Like, good. I was going to run for a second. I was like, I can't even run yet. I ain't even the appropriate age, but I just feel like everybody's running for office. Everybody's doing something. Everybody, but you don't want to get into that conversation. Somebody's feeling the burn. Somebody was for this and somebody's for that, and and you get into arguments. You get into discussions that begins to separate you more than it brings us together. Remember now, our job is to be peacemakers. It's to bring some peace into our household, to bring some peace together, and for all of us to really understand what our ultimate goal is, and that is to create unity. A family should be a unified unit, and it should be able to take us to where we should go. I think next we should really talk about, like, what are some of those characters, you get around the table, like we should really identify who some of those characters are, and then kind of talk about those people.
Let's jump back in and talk about those characters that you have that are around the dinner table. Those family members that you have that are just real special.
Yeah, we got some. They're everywhere.
Okay, tell me what babe, are you serious right now, though?
Maybe the deep one. The deep one is a big one.
The difficult is a really, really big one. Well, difficult in every situation.
Difficult, deep, just difficult and deep. The deep one. But we have to really identify the deep one. The deep one is that person who thinks that, that God only lives in TBN. Like,
Well, dang, you got on TBN.
or Daystar, or if it ain't got God in it, then it's probably demonic. I mean, everybody got a demon. Everybody walk. The reason why you're singing because you got a demon in you. The reason why it is because you got a demon. It's like, no, I'm not demonic because I'm single. I'm single because I got standards. Like let's be honest. It's like my marriage is not in trouble because I'm demonic. My marriage is in trouble because we're people. And we have issues and we're trying to work this thing out. And, I'm not demonic because I got problems. Like the Bible says, I'm working out my own salvation. I think that oftentimes we get so deep with things, and instead of just kind of, just recognizing what the principles are of the word and not just getting bogged down into the law of what is right, what's not right. Can you do this? Can you do that? And some people are just deep, and they stay so deep that they drown in. It's just deep. Then you got the difficult one, and Heather, you can.
All right, the difficult one may or may not be my husband.
Hey, whatever, yo.
The people that are just intense. Like, why you so intense all the time?
I'm intense all the time. I gotta be. You let your guard down one time, somebody got you.
Baby,
that's just the way life is.
Baby. Okay, so obviously we're night and day. I wake up like butterflies and sunshine. Everything's beautiful.
Turning on lights and stuff.
It's a new beautiful day to worship Jesus with my whole heart. And I just want to flip around and love Jesus and like crawl up to heaven and hug him. And then my husband says, it's a new day. I'm here. Why am I still here?
No, I wake up. Okay. My life is full of responsibility. Like I don't really see. I mean, life can be enjoyed, and there are certain times in life where I do enjoy it. But I see life as though it is meant to be a responsibility. I have responsibilities to take care of. I have a wife, I have kids, I have a house, I have a church, I have businesses, I have this. So I have responsibilities. So the moment I let my guard down, it's like I'm not taking care of my responsibilities. So I mean,
Yeah.
So when I wake up in the morning, I'm waking up like, man, I'm responsible. I got to go to the gym. I got to do this, got to do that because I'm responsible.
See, I don't look at it like that, but that's why you're also the priest of my household. And I'm thankful for that.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
But the difficult one.
So how am I the difficult one? I want to hear this.
Let's talk about the difficult one. The difficult one is always fussing about something. I mean, okay, so they didn't cook any of the food whatsoever. Had nothing to do with the cooking of the food. And I'm not just saying you specifically, babe. I'm just general, okay? Uh-huh. So they walk by. Who made the mac and cheese that looked burnt? It looked like it ain't right. Who made this? I ain't eating it because you know how she cooked. She messed up the mac and cheese 4 Christmases ago. So she probably jacked it up again. I mean, just intense. Why are you so intense, bro?
Yeah.
Or woman. It could be both. It could go both ways. The other person is just complaining about that family member that comes in, with her little boyfriend, and you're like, I don't like them. I don't like them. They better sit over. They better not come over here and talk to me. It's like they're just looking, it seems like, for a fight sometimes.
What about the pessimist? I mean, I feel like every family has that pessimist, like everything is bad. It's like, it's like you almost don't even want to ask them, like, how are you doing?
Like, I hate life.
It's like, well, how are you doing? It's like, well, my dog died and, I ain't been able to pay my bills. And, it's just like,
I'm just scrapping up food to eat. And you're like, do you need $10?
No, it's like the pessimist, pessimist out of the group. It's like, oh my goodness.
You know what I do with the pessimist? I'm always like, so tell me the best thing that happened to you this year.
You do a good job of that. Like I know. And like every time, like before you ask the question, you're always like, you got to tell me the best thing that has happened since I've seen you. But the look on the person's face is always like, hello, what am I supposed to talk about?
Right.
She doesn't have an idea of what to say.
Because I'm so used to complaining about my life that I can't find the joy in anything. Is that you? Do you just find something to complain about all the time? And it's just your heart is sad. And what I've learned is like the joy of the Lord is my strength. I have a choice. I can complain about my life or I can be thankful and grateful for the portion that God gave me.
What about the belligerent? Like the one who just wants to fight everything. Like they come in with like the mind to argue. Like I came in
to talk about politics, religion, all of that.
They're like, stuff. Y'all sit on that Jesus stuff. Like y'all don't even know. Like Jesus, they got y'all believing this white man Jesus.
White man's
you
religion.
Need under white man's religion. You need to come back to Africa. This is the year of the great pilgrim. It's like like
they're just
like
ready.
They came in ready to argue.
I just refuse to communicate with them. I'm sorry. Like
I like to talk to them.
See, you would, but for me, in my mind, I'm just like, okay, if I argue with a fool, I'll become one.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't want to open up myself. Like, I like a peaceful life. Like, I don't want to open up myself to any mess. And I even learned in some situations with certain people that I know, like, I can't have certain conversations because they might agree with or disagree with me. So there's certain roads we won't go down. Because I'm like, we've been down those roads before. And we disagree. So why even bring it up? Or why even have that communication? Like, I'm not trying to fight with you. I'm tired. Yeah. Like, I got a lot going on in my life. I ain't got time for it.
Yeah. What about the interrogator? That's the person who goes around and asks everybody questions. You know, it's like, so how you been doing? But the interrogator only asks questions so they can get information. Because the interrogator is usually the gossiper as well.
Oh, yeah.
The interrogator asks questions so that they can gossip about the information that they just received from you to somebody else. So they will sit in the living room and say, so what's going on with you? They get all the information from you. Then all of a sudden they turn to somebody. They go into the kitchen and then they just gossip about all the information. What about the interrogator? Do we have an interrogator in our family?
No, I don't think so.
I think we have an interrogator. We don't really have gossipers either. Our family's like really straight up and honest. They just kind of tell you, like.
But I know of people that do that. So I keep it real light. I feel like, I discern that crap. And I'm like, no, I know you gathering to go tell your friend. Everything is amazing. Everything is great.
It's good. I'm good. You good. Bye.
You can't tell everybody your business, especially family members. So if you and your spouse are fighting, like, you can't go tell certain family members because they're going to hold it against your spouse long after you've forgiven that person. So you got to be careful with who you're talking to.
So we got the interrogator. You got, who else? Who's somebody else? The emotional.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness. It's like
drama.
That's it. The drama
queen and king.
The drama. The thing you got to know with the drama king or queen is this: if you give a clown a stage,
well, dang,
then that's like, to them, that means that it's okay for them to perform.
Yeah.
And people who love drama, they have drama-filled lives. It's like, I am not trying to be a part of your Real Housewives show. Yeah. Like, you are just like, you're going crazy. You have way too much drama in your life.
I've learned that, like, not to give them an invitation. Like, I'm not going to open up myself to the drama and the things that you have going on. I am responsible for my moods and my nerves, and I'm not going to let you get on them. I'm not going to get sucked in to your emotional drama, all the stuff you have going on. Well, baby, I'm praying for you. I love you. I'm standing in agreement with you. Yep. They might call me the deep one, but I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm still going to stay firm. I'm going to stay, and not stay long. Y'all know we go to the family member's house for a couple of hours and it's time to go on back to the house.
Hold on. That's a whole other family member. Yeah. That's the one who takes and never gives.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous one, because you got to understand something. The relationship requires reciprocity, which means that if you go through your life constantly taking and never giving, then that's a problem. You're teaching yourself that it is okay to take, but you never have to sacrifice. Yeah. Christ doesn't even teach that. Mm-hmm. He teaches that we live to sacrifice ourselves. We live to give. And if that is the case, then, you just can't go to everybody's family. Like, you showing up with Tupperware dishes. Like, hold up. You didn't cook nothing. You didn't bring nothing.
What you bringing to the people's house?
You didn't cash out nothing.
That is true.
You just there, and you can't do that.
And if they decline, then that's one thing. Like, we've told people, hey, don't bring anything. We're good, but still. So, what's interesting with all of those different personalities? I just had a thought. I remember when you dropped out of college and you went and took a job as a waiter. But I remember wasn't it around like Thanksgiving and like the holidays? And then you had a woman come to your table that you went to high school with.
Oh, child, yeah.
That attacked your identity, right? Mm. So, and if you don't know who you are and all these difficult people begin to question you, that's what I want to talk about next. Because I feel like so many people are like, all right, I can identify with all of these people, all these different family members or friends. But what do I do when I'm faced with a situation where I'm being challenged? So let's talk about that next.
So I'm gonna tell you what happened. So, okay, I dropped out of college. I'm a server at a restaurant, and I was serving. They had assigned me some tables. I was in the back, and somebody told me they said, "Hey, they just sat like some people at your table, one of your tables." So I was like, okay, bet. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to, ask them if they want water, give them some rolls, all this kind of stuff. So I walked out and I was like, hey, welcome to where I was working at. And they said, and I was like, how you guys doing? And this one girl, she was sitting down, she was looking ahead, and then she looked over at me and she was like, oh my God, it's Cornelius. And here's the thing. So in high school, I was voted most likely to succeed. I was class president from my sophomore to my senior year. I graduated, 8th in my class. Like I did all these things and achievement accolades. And so I was the guy who people probably thought was going to achieve everything he set out to do. I went to college. I had Hope Scholarship. I also had other scholarships going to college. I paid no money going. I didn't have to pay for my books, my living, anything, because I had enough money to do it for scholarships. But she went to my high school, and she was also in college, and she was getting a dual degree at the time. And this girl gonna say to me, she was like, oh, look, it's Cornelius. And she said, She said, weren't you voted most likely to succeed? She was like, and look at you now.
Dang.
And I was like, oh. And there I was like having to smile through like what felt like a punch in my throat. Like I just, I'm glad I went through that because it has helped me to be it's helped me to be a pastor. Because oftentimes people say the dumbest things to me and I just have to smile through it while looking at them and think to myself like, oh my goodness, that was the dumbest thing I've heard for in my life. But and then I just look at them and I say, well, praise the Lord. And I just walk, I just keep going. But I've had to learn, and I'm glad I went through that. But that was the piece of that really began to attack my identity.
That's good. I believe that your identity as you're on your way to knowing who you are in Jesus is going to get tested. I think we just need to like lay that out on the table, y'all. If you're listening and you're like, man, I'm so sick and tired of people questioning my decisions, questioning me waiting on God, questioning my standards. Y'all, the world is going to do that. So you have to get rid of this expectation that the world is going to roll over and just let you be who God called you to be. They're going to try to challenge you in every single way. And I shared, earlier that I was adopted, but I struggled with my identity for many years. And anytime anybody said something to me, it just put me in this people bondage. And I remember having to go to the mirror every single day with my scriptures in hand. And I would begin to declare, you are beautifully and wonderfully made by God. You are content with who God has created you to be. While you in your mother's womb, he assigned you with a purpose and a plan. Like I had to begin to prophesy what I wanted to see in my life and prophesy what God said about me. Because I feel like this world is trying to identify us. And if you don't know who you are, they're going to literally try to make you into being what they want you to be. Yeah,
clones.
Literally clones.
And people don't see it.
Come on.
People, we're literally cloning people. And there's this, we have all these standards and all these customs and, this is the way it's always been done. This is how it's done. This is how we've always done this. Like I'm a college dropout and, I get up, I'm a pastor. I get up and I tell people, I don't hide it from people that I am a college dropout. Hey, it is what it is. I'm not telling people not to go to college. I'm not telling people to follow my example. But oftentimes I make the statement that education and college are two different things.
Yeah.
I think we try to put them together. They're two different things. To get education is free. But to go to college, that's going to, from most of them, it's going to cost you some money. It costs you something to get a degree. Yeah. To get an education, I can go down to the library and I can get a book and read that for free. And I can go on teachable.com and find me a learning lesson to learn for free. So education's free. A college is going to cost you something. Now, the reason why I said that is this. I've said that. And I've had parents, especially, to get upset and they say, well, my daughter heard that and she's thinking about dropping out of college now. And I look at them, I say, well, why is it a bad idea? Especially if she believes that's what God wants her to do. Well, she don't know what she wants. And this is just a structure in life. This is just how things have always been. Child, that may have been the case when you were younger, but the world has changed.
Oh, it's so different.
We move, this society nowadays moves at the speed of relationships, not at the speed of knowledge. We I can move faster, further, depending on the relationship I'm with. Now, we're always in relationship with God. He always got us, but he puts us in covenant relationship with people to move us further, faster. And a lot of times what we learn for where we're going is what we learn along the way. That some of y'all will get that on the way home, but it's like they're making clones, and our identity is people don't really identify with God anymore. People don't really identify with faith. They don't identify with commitment and I'm going to be secure in who Christ called me to be. I think even for a lot of believers, for a lot of Christians, we're okay with church on Sunday, and we're okay with God as long as God does not inconvenience our lives too much.
Oh, that's good. I mean, you just preaching. I'm like, why don't know?
I'm serious. Like, it's just
no, it's true. And it's just like, all right, I'll live for Jesus as long as he opens up the door to give me a job.
Yep.
But he better not touch my man or my money.
Yep.
So I need to be able to date who I want. And when he convicts me to tell me no, we become so rebellious in our heart. And it's almost like, God, you can't tell me no because I do what I want to do. But it's like, do you really want a relationship with Jesus? Or do you want a genie in the bottle where you rub him to get your prayers answered, but you want nothing to do with him?
Yep.
And then what happens is we begin to hit rock bottom in our life. We have no hope. We go into depression. We're sad. We're down. We don't understand why it seems like God's so far from us, but we push him away.
Yeah.
Like, are you pushing God away with your lifestyle, with the decisions that you're making? You're saying you love Jesus with your mouth, but your heart is so far from him.
And that's people are doing that. It's like, people come and they say, well, I was telling you earlier, like, this person said to me that I don't believe God would tell you to leave college. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's crazy.
Like, Jesus literally went up to fishermen and said, leave your nets. I mean, Luke, a physician, left his practice. I mean, you got to think what people left and put on hold to say, I'm going to follow God. I'm going to follow and do what he tells me to do. And if God truly if Jesus is truly my Lord, then that means that I have dethroned myself from ruler over my own life. And it is no longer I who live, but he who lives within me. That's true identity. Yeah. And when you get firm in that, and when you become confident in who God has told you to be, what he's called you to be, and when you become firmly rooted in that, then it doesn't matter what family member tries to question what God said. I got to the point when people kept questioning whether or not what God said to me, I had to get to this point in my life. And I'll never forget the Holy Spirit saying this to me. It is, Cornelius, they will never understand, but here's the thing. I didn't tell them.
Yeah.
I told you.
Yeah.
And then
that's good.
Here's the other side of that where it can get dangerous. I don't want you to hear that and think that just because you think you heard something, you don't have to be accountable to what you said he said. Like, if you heard it, then you need to make sure that it is truly what he said and not just, well, I feel like this is what he said, I'm just going to move on type thing.
That's good. Something that I realized as you were talking, that as believers, when we get saved and give our life to Jesus and we say yes to him, he begins to put us on a path that is unlike anybody else's. I just think about it. In one moment, Jesus healed with spit, and another time he healed with mud. So it's like, we can't search for this formula of success. Instead, we have to say, all right, God, what do you want me to do? For you, he told you to drop out of college. For me, he told me to complete college, but then move to a whole nother state, to New York City, where I had no job and nothing, where I worked for free for about 3 or 4 months. I ended up getting evicted. It was a disaster, but it was a journey for me of finding out who I really am. Am I defined by what this world says I am, or am I going to keep my eyes on Jesus and not allow anybody to clone me? Because that's what they try to do. I felt like I was running from the status quo that said, all right, you have to have this type of job in order to be successful. Yep. Instead, I said, no, I know that I'm enough. And when I first started preaching, we're first generation preachers. I remember somebody said, why can't you preach more like Joyce Meyer? And I remember saying,
I'm sorry. I almost said something. I forgot we were doing the podcast. I almost forgot we were.
Don't forget,
almost went back to Riverdale. I almost
bring
forgot.
Bring it back in, baby.
Oh, Clayco. All right, my bad.
So I remember saying, I'm not Joyce Meyer. I am the first and the last Heather Lindsey.
Come on.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I am the first. And people are saying, oh, you want Taylor to be like you. I want Taylor to be the first Taylor Lindsey. On. Why can't we be in our own lane and be who God called us to be? Why we got to be somebody else in order to be successful?
Come on. It's like, and that's the other thing, even with our kids and parents out there with kids, like, I'm so cautious and so careful when people come around me and they're like, Logan's going to be a great pastor. It's like, hold up now. And Logan is our firstborn, and Logan is extremely convicted. He's probably more saved than I am, if there's a thing.
Oh my gosh.
Logan could take over as pastor right now and probably run circles around me. But nevertheless, I go to Logan, and at night when he's going to bed, I'm like, Logan, that daddy does not, you don't have to follow in daddy's footsteps. Like that's not. And he's like, yeah, I know. He's like, yes, sir. I know. I know.
I love him.
But I want him to know that, because I don't want him to get into this thing where he feels like he needs to be me in order to be him. Yeah. Because I meet way too many pastors' sons who look at me and they say, this is what I feel like I'm called to do. And then I hear the sermon. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah. You're called, because maybe you're called to be in the marketplace. Yeah. And maybe that's the reason why the church is faltering right now, because you were called to be a great banker. And you could possibly be the one who makes the money to finance the ministry, but you may not be the one to preach. Well, yeah, I know, but my dad really wants me to do it. It's like the pressure that can come from the parent can ruin the child. Yeah. It ruins them. Like the pressure. My mama was a doctor. So everybody in the family has to be a doctor. Everybody has to be a dentist. And it's like, no, baby, what is God telling you to do? You really got to have that identity, because dealing with difficult people, they will try to make you out to be who they think you are. And that's just dangerous.
No, that's good. So up next, I want to talk about just like the pressure and how to combat it and how to stay focused when it gets hard. Okay, so we are back and we are talking about how to deal with that pressure when it comes your way. Now, I wrote about this a ton in my book, The Pressure Trap. And the reason why I wrote that is because I felt pressured to write the book. I remember sitting there and saying, Lord, what book do you want me to write next? And he was not giving me any direction. And I was frustrated because I felt like I'm supposed to drop a book a year. And I remember the Lord telling me, who told you that? Like, who told you, number one, that you're supposed to drop a book a year? But number two, that's what I want you to write about, pressure. So many people feel pressure to do all these things. And that is why they are not in position and they're not doing what I'm telling them to do, because they're looking at everybody else's life and feeling like if my life doesn't look like their life, that I'm not successful. And obviously this all comes up during the holiday season because we're around family members like never before. But what I've learned to combat that pressure that comes my way is first, again, knowing my identity, knowing who I am in Jesus. And what would you say the second thing would be for you?
I think it's probably like the opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah. It's feeling overlooked. Yeah. Because on one side, I feel the pressure to perform. Yeah. On the other side, I feel overlooked. Mm-hmm. Maybe I don't feel like I have done enough, or maybe what I have done, nobody else sees it. Yeah. And, I wrote a book called Overlooked, and the whole premise of the book is for those individuals who feel like somehow God has looked them over. Yeah. Because you can get around family, and I've been in that situation before. I think we all have, where we get around family and everybody's talking about everything they're doing. And you know how that one auntie is who always talking about how great her kids are. Well, my baby right now is at Harvard and my baby is at Yale and Princeton. It's like, okay, but they probably flunking. I'm sorry. Let me not say that. It's just like, you start thinking to yourself like, man, what am I doing with my life? Yeah. Like, back then, when I used to hear, I had this one cousin who oh my goodness. She would always talk about what her kids were doing. And then, she look over and she's like, Clover, what is Cornelius doing? And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, well, I'm Cornelius. I can speak. I'm grown. I can speak for myself. But I'm like, I'm a server at a restaurant. I never forget that one Thanksgiving where that happened, where I was like, I'm a server at a restaurant. And, everybody just kind of got quiet, and she was kind of like, a server at a restaurant. She was like, I thought you were in college. Aren't you going back to school? And I was like, well, no, I'm not. I'm not going back. And that was extremely difficult to deal with. But I had to become secure in myself to say, even though I'm in this position now, my present does not define my future. Yeah. But where I am presently is going to give me the character to help sustain my future. And although I felt severely overlooked at that time, I had to realize that God was doing a greater work in me, and that I no longer needed to have accolades and a position and a title in order to impress the people around me.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could really ask ourselves the question, with all of our accolades, with all of our titles, with everything we call ourselves, is Christ really enough?
That's good.
Is it
so good?
Is it still valuable to say that I'm a Christian, I'm a follower of Christ?
Yeah.
Or must I lead first with my title? I'm a pastor. I'm an author. I speak around the way. Do I have to lead first with that in order for people to think I'm important? Or can I go my life without having to feel like I'm important, or rather just believing that Jesus Christ is what's more important than me, and I am only important and only valuable because he is?
People ask me this all the time. Like, what do you do? And what if our response was, I'm a servant? Because isn't that what a preacher is? Right? I'm just a servant. No, how you make money though? That would be their next question. And they're waiting to base their value from their perspective onto you. I literally can feel that projection. I know you can too. Especially say we were flying first class and I'm a point queen, y'all. I will use some points in a heartbeat. We book coach and we upgrade to first class, but we're going to talk about that in the next podcast, just about traveling and all our joys of traveling. But say we're sitting in first and people are like, they always ask Cornelius, are you a ball player? What team do you play for? They always
do that. Are you a ball player? Like, no.
It's like, we can't sit in first class we can't be. I
asked this one guy, I said, what do I look? I said, he was like, what do you do? I said, what do you think I do? He said, do you play ball? I don't play ball. He's like, well, I don't know. Maybe you're a lawyer or something. I was like, no. I said, I do rightfully divide the truth, though.
Come on.
I don't rightfully divide the law, but I definitely rightfully divide the truth.
Come on.
Yeah, but what you're saying is so important.
It's so key. So I've learned that my value is not in preaching.
Yeah.
It's not in writing books. Yeah. It's not in all of these things that we can see. My value comes from the fact that I am loved by Jesus. He died for me.
Come on.
Like, seriously, y'all, strip off all of your titles, all of your accolades, anything that makes you important. You standing there naked without all of that stuff, is that enough for you? And I think it's a good heart check, because it's like we need to be having more in our life in order to feel like we are important. But Jesus is saying, have you received me? Do you believe that I am enough? And the plans that I have for you are good, and that I'm a good father. Do we really believe that? Or is our value in what this world says? Some of y'all are dragging this worldly mindset into your Christian walk, and you wonder why you're not happy. You wonder why you're not satisfied. And Jesus is just saying, receive me. Just believe that I am good. And that is enough. Stop trying to get value from your family members on Christmas or whatever. Or really quick, I forgot about this, but I meant to mention this earlier, but there's actually an ad going around right now. This man, what he's doing is he's saying, you can rent me for Christmas. I can be a Christian.
That happens every year.
I can quote a scripture and I charge $50 an hour. I charge $75 an hour if you want me to speak in tongues.
Come on.
$100. I mean, literally, it was real. I was like, wait, what? And he literally gets rented out for family get-togethers. The fact that we feel so pressured that we have to make up lies.
I would do that.
Really? As a married man, you would?
No, not as a married man, but if I was single, yeah, I mean, rent me out.
Rent you out?
Like prostitution. It sounds really close to prostitution. That's a little bit like, okay. Yeah. I mean, it is the oldest profession. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Bad example.
Yeah. Continue.
But ladies, you don't have to do that. Our worth comes from the Lord. And no matter how old you are, and no matter what you're facing right now in this season in your life, I want you to stand firm and know that you trust God, and you're walking in his way, and you're trusting his timing, and you're not going to awaken love before it's time. You've got to understand, when you awaken love before it's time, you're not only affecting your life, but you're affecting the generations after you. Your own children are depending on you to make a good decision on who daddy's going to be. So don't feel like you have to settle this holiday season. Don't feel like you have to, make up something about your career. Oh, I just got promoted. No, I'm just trusting God. I'm just walking by faith. Do you need me to pray for you on anything? Switch it back on them. Like, what's going on with your life? Like, do you know God has a purpose for you? Do you know he's drawing you back to him? And when you get talking about Jesus, they'll either just run or they'll open up.
Yeah. And to the fellas out there, let me say this. When I was in college, for a little time that I was there, I ran for a senator. I was at a UGA and I was in the SGA, and I ran for senator on campus, and I ran with the Vote Naked Party. It was a Vote Naked Party and the Classic Party. And I ran with the Vote Naked Party. And the concept of the Vote Naked Party was stripping off excess layers and getting back to what's important. And I say this to you fellas, a lot of times we rate ourselves and we rate our identity and we rate our value on points. And, with sports and things like that, we rate ourselves with points. And here's the thing, we measure everything. And I mean everything. And based upon the measurement of however we see something in comparison to another man's, then that's how we rate our value. So it's funny. I've seen men who were janitors, look down when the CEO comes, as though the CEO is any better man than the janitor. A lot of times the janitor may have better morals than the CEO.
That's real.
But you have to know that you need to strip down everything else. Don't rate yourself. Don't look at your life based on what you have, what you did. When you get around your family, you get around those difficult people, just be you and strip off all that other stuff and just get down to what's important. And like Heather said, when they ask you questions, they're like hounding you about your life, turn it back on them. Hey, so, how are you doing? Or how can I pray for you? Or what do you believe in God for now? Or how is God moving in your life? Turn it back on them in a way of you being able to now serve them with the same God who has now empowered you. And here's the last thing. Be bold in your faith.
That's right.
Be proud of your faith.
That's right.
And don't let anybody demean your faith. Don't let anybody do that. Man, this has been a really, really good time with y'all.
Yes, it's been so good. I just love you guys. Thank you guys so much for your support. I want to encourage you to subscribe, download, tell some friends to download and subscribe. And I just can't wait to talk about how we travel the world for almost free. And then just also some of our journeys with walking by faith in the next podcast. So you don't want to miss it, you guys. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And don't forget, if you're using a hashtag, use hashtag Life with the Lindseys.
Yes.
Life with the Lindseys. We love you guys. Can't wait to be with y'all next week. Same time, same bat channel. Bye.
Bye.